All right. Hey, it is different and it is July 24th, right? Okay. And I have two great guests today, and they're both from Oaklawn Boxing, Jennifer Buck and Travis Glenn. Why don't y'all introduce yourselves?
I'm Travis Glenn. I am the owner of Oaklawn Boxing here in Dallas, Texas. I am also the head trainer. We have 6 trainers total. We train primarily professional women and men for boxing, for cardio, exercise, and for self-defense.
And I'm Jennifer Buck, and I'm a new trainer at Oaklawn Boxing. I started out as a student 2 years ago, and I'm on board to hopefully train new female students at Oaklawn Boxing.
Closer. There you go.
There we go.
That's great. So, don't you, Jennifer? Don't you run an organization called the Women of Storm?
Yes, I do that on the side. It's a nonprofit organization, and basically we're a database of volunteers, and our mission is just to help out whoever needs us. We work with other nonprofits. They call us. We've worked with Habitat for Humanity, Paws in the City. They basically just call us and say, we need volunteers to do, house building or to help run pets back and forth through adoption, and we're there to help out. And in exchange for that, the volunteers play sports. We have a softball team, the Swarm softball team, that is part of the NTWSA, and we do social events for the volunteers.
Okay, cool. So, what kind of what do the women get out of being involved in sports as well as activities that help the community?
Well, the women choose which events they want to volunteer for, so it's more to their liking, whether they want to work with animals, with the elderly, with other organizations. Our main purpose is to hopefully provide a positive image of lesbian, transgender women to the community. We don't just work with gay and lesbian organizations, we work with anybody that needs our help. So hopefully we promote an image that we're here as part of the community too to help. The sports, we get everything out of it. Our teams become a family. We get a competitive side, a social side, and through that we also have gained new members and got more of the message out.
Cool. Hey, Travis, what do you get out of working for Oaklawn Boxing?
It's been very interesting. In the 8 years that I've had the gym, we've had opportunities to work with people from a lot of different backgrounds. Younger, more mature, tall, short, male, female, straight, gay, transgender. We've just had a mix of students from across the board. And one of the things that has been most satisfying to me has been helping people realize their potential and realize the empowerment that they can get by learning basic boxing and basic self-defense. We have quite a few people who have a physical challenge of some sort. They've perhaps had major surgery or in cancer recovery, things like this. And getting back into a physical activity such as boxing is very empowering for them. And I feel like not only is it good exercise for them, but we're actually making a significant difference in the quality of their lives. And that's very cool for me as a trainer and as a gym owner, because I've never before been in a position where I've been able to help people quite like that.
Cool. Is there a major difference between a gym in the neighborhood such as Oaklawn Boxing and a gym in, say, like a straight neighborhood?
I don't know about the difference in neighborhood, but I can attest to the fact when it comes to a private boxing gym itself, I went from someone who, belonged to all the major gyms in the neighborhood, and I was looking for something that offered me more than just, the basic running, exercise, was also a private environment and really taught a sport. And when I went to Travis's gym, I was impressed with the setup because it was a real boxing gym. And then also Travis himself, immediately in meeting him, I was put at ease because I was like, oh, I'm going to be a girl training with guys. How are they going to treat me? And right off the bat, I was just treated like a student, like a boxer. And the environment is perfect. Obviously, in the neighborhood, it's close to downtown Dallas, so it's easily accessible by many. But the environment itself, you really are one-on-one. You're not in a class looking at all these other women going, oh, God, am I ever going to look like that? So it's a good environment. It's private. It's technical. And it's not like anything else I've ever attended.
I think something else that works to our advantage as a gym is that I am out as a gay male, And that really promotes a sense of freedom in the gym, and I think communicates the message from the very beginning that we are very positive and encouraging and promote our teaching efforts in that manner. And I think that opens up our facility to a lot of segments of our community that might otherwise have a bit of hesitation into stepping into a boxing gym for the first time.
That's great. Growing up, did you ever like play sports or whatever, and feel scared to come out of the closet because of the environment in the locker room?
I think as a woman, when you play sports in high school, you know, you always wonder, are there any other lesbians on this team? There has to be, but no one's ready to come out, so you kind of keep it in. And that's what's great about the gym is that you get there, and obviously, you know, Travis is very upfront, so immediately you're relaxed. And that definitely helps the environment. But I think, you know, Travis can speak more to the male perspective, because we talked about this one time about, you know, guys growing up and, you know, feeling like they might be called sissy or whatnot.
Like many males growing up in the public school systems in this country, I heard the standard lines about no one wants you on the team, you throw the baseball like a girl, you're the last one to be picked for a team if you're picked at all. And I think a lot of gay males have grown up with this image that they cannot do sports, that they cannot succeed at sports. And I would counter to that almost anyone can succeed at basic sports activities if they have the right type of coaching. And many of our students, when they first start, after 2 or 3 lessons, they're pleasantly surprised to discover that not only can they do this, but they're actually pretty good at it. And they realize that all of that programming they got in the public school system growing up was really just propaganda that had no basis in fact. There's no reason why lesbians and gay men can't succeed in sports just as well or better than any other segment of our society.
Okay, Jennifer, who started the Women of the Swarm?
I started it with my friend Melanie. A lot of the people at Youth First Texas affectionately know her as Aunt Melanie.
Right. She was actually my first guest.
Yeah, and we were just talking because we had both been with Youth First Texas, and a lot of the girls were aging out. And as you know, when you age out, you know, there are some great nonprofits out there, but nothing that really centers on adult lesbian women. And some of them were talking to us, well, we would like something to do other, you know, than just go out. And so Mel and I started talking, and we were like, well, we don't necessarily want to focus on one group of women. And we don't want to be responsible for our own personal budget. We just really want to get a group of women together that enjoy doing different things. So we're like, well, let's just be a volunteer database. Let's just get together, let's socialize, hook up with other organizations and go out and help them, raise money for them, give them our time instead of trying to compete with the other organizations for the limited funds that are already out there. So we came up with that idea, and we're about 1.5 years in. We started out with maybe 6 of us, and we're about at 76 right now. And
wow.
Yeah, well, we haven't really grown in the events. We have about 10 dedicated volunteers, and we're hoping in 2013, just now that we've learned what works, what doesn't work, what people like to do, who's willing to reach out to us as a group of lesbian and trans women. We've learned a lot, so we hope in 2013 that we can double that and become more involved with more organizations and try to get out there at least once a month for a big event.
That's great. How did you come up with the name of Women of the Swarm, or the Women of Swarm?
You know, I was trying to think of a way to describe just a group of women bonding together to support. And I don't honestly remember which member sent me a picture of just a group of bees swarming around a tree. And I thought, that's a pretty cool word. You know, when you need help, rescue's a word, help's a word. But I didn't want I wanted something that didn't sound, you know, like an emergency call or something. So we came up with Swarm, and we thought that's pretty cool because, you know, when the queen bee's in trouble, the hive swarms around her. Or, you know, you could get a swarm of people to an event. So it came out of a discussion, but I'm not sure who to credit it with because it was such a long time ago, and it's just kind of taken off from there.
Jennifer, I know that we've talked some about your organization at the boxing gym. Do you find that because it is comprised of lesbian and trans women that you have perhaps opportunities to do volunteer work that might be a little more difficult to make happen if the volunteers were male, for instance?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, because I think, especially when it comes to helping other women in need, just like with women in boxing, sometimes you want to relate to another woman. So there have been abuse centers for women who have been abused by their former partners or by parents who've come into adults in the system who are uncomfortable around men, so they'd rather talk to women. So there have been organizations that are female specific that want to reach out to us. So I think that's what works to our advantage. And also, just working with Habitat and other organizations, a group of women show up and they're like, oh, they're going to build a house? Well, yes, we certainly can.
And that's probably empowering as well to the women on the sidelines who watch this activity happen and say and see, oh, if they could do it, I could be a part of something like this as well.
I definitely think so. And I think an important factor to our organization is the transgender community. I can't speak to this, but my transgender friends have told me, we're not quite sure where we fit because the straight community kind of looks at us one way and so does the gay and lesbian community. And to me, when female's female. So when we started it, a lot of organizations were like, no, we don't necessarily take transgender members. And I was like, well, we are. And I think that that's come to a big advantage for us because there's so many members of that community that have not found that one organization other than Youth First Texas and GEAR where they really fit in with other members.
Right.
And that has
and
helped us.
transmigration.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That has helped us because we're getting calls from transgender organizations in other states. How did you set this up? How do we get other women involved? We want all women to bond. So I think it's also become a really great example by being inclusive.
That's great. Travis, before you worked at Oaklawn Boxing, what other kind of jobs did you have before? And were you ever afraid to come out of or were you ever afraid to be out at the workplace before Oaklawn Boxing?
Actually, I was a professional musician for about 30 years before I opened the boxing gym. I traveled around the country with touring Broadway musical shows as conductor and music director and would work at various regional and state arts venues around the country. Because I worked in a theater environment for 30 years, I was pretty open about my orientation. The theater world tends to be more welcoming to people of different orientations than perhaps some other employment venues. But when I made the transition out of that, I basically got tired of being on the road all the time. I'm almost 55 years old now, and something that seems adventurous when you're 18 and traveling around the country becomes a little more daunting, I think, when you approach middle age, as I have. And I was looking for something that would keep me here, home in the Dallas area more, and made this natural transition to the boxing gym because I was training myself, and that has really worked out pretty well in terms of the same approach. In other words, I didn't feel a need to change how I addressed my orientation or acknowledged my orientation just because I was in a different field. And it's as I mentioned earlier, it's really worked out pretty well for us at the gym because we try to be a very supportive, very diverse environment, different types of students training there. And I think that diversity in the long run will just make us stronger as a gym, as a workout facility.
Right. Jennifer, have you ever felt the need to be in the closet in a work environment?
No, I've been pretty fortunate. I came out to my parents really early, and they've always been supportive. And my sister's like my number one defender, number one fan. So I've always had a supportive environment at home. And I went to college and started in theater arts. So, everyone in the theater art program, it seemed like at the time, was coming out. And this is the early 90s, before the TV shows and all the reality shows that it, showed a big gay culture. And so it was just a comfortable environment. And when I transitioned to the workplace, I work in media and broadcasting. It's just a very accepting environment. So I can't think of a time where I haven't been out. It might take you a while to get to know people and tell them, but I've never said, oh, no, I'm straight, or, my husband doesn't want to come to these events. I've always been very out.
That's great. Are either one of you married by any chance?
Travis.
I am partnered. My partner and I have been together for next month in August. It will be 28 years now.
Oh, that's great.
So he is not at all involved in the boxing gym. He understands that that's my thing, and he's very supportive of it. But that's not something that he is personally interested in.
That's wonderful. Were you about to say something?
No, I'm single.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at your site right now. It's called www.womenofswarm.com. Please don't be mistaken of the word the. The word the is not in it. It's just womenofswarm.com. And I love how there's a theme here going on. Like there's a homepage, and then there's Lady Buzz, and then the Hive as far as like tabs that you can go under. How did you all raise enough money to even have a website?
Well, fortunately, in today's technology, we can do that for free.
You can do that for free. Oh.
Yeah, well, we pay for a server every year, but there are tools like anyone to create a free website. We're open to expanding and pay someone who wants to do a more elaborate website, but right now you see the culmination of all of our limited website talents.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the site. It's very professional looking. It has the current sitting is where they show the sports where they play, as well as events such as Habitat for Humanity. And tell us more about like the sports aspect of it, like playing softball together.
Well, last year the members and I were talking, and we were like, well, we want to get out there. How can we do it? What's something that a lot of lesbian women tend to migrate to? And, we said sports. So we found the NTWSA, which is the North Texas Women's Softball Association. They play out in Irving. And we joined mid-season last year with just a limited few members, and we had about a 2-10 record, but we were just there for the fun. And then this year, some of the other members came back, and they brought their family, their friends. We went to player sign-ups and found players. I joined the board so I could learn more about the league and how it's run, help promote them. And we just got really lucky with our players bringing on friends and family. We become a family ourselves, and we're doing pretty well this season. We're about 6-8 right now. We play every Sunday in Irving at 1 o'clock. So if you want to come watch good softball, come watch the Swarm play. And it's just become a great way to promote, because people will be like, well, what's the Swarm? And we're like, well, that's more than a team name. It's also a nonprofit organization, and they learn more about that. And we've made great friends and great connections.
Go ahead.
Jennifer, I'm curious, having an all-female sports team, does that permit the members, the players, to bond together perhaps in a way that other types of activities might not?
Well, yeah, I think so. I think that's natural, because I think when you're in an environment where everyone knows everyone's gay, not everyone who plays on every team is lesbian, it's open to anyone, but, it is a majority gay league. It's an open environment. It's relaxed. It's women playing women. So I think the skill level's pretty well matched up, and we just have a good time, and we've made a lot of friends, and we're really lucky because our team does have family members. I just keep telling everybody, we've just become a big competitive family.
It kind of sounds like Oaklawn Boxing Gym, where we promote ourselves as being gay-owned and gay-operated, but we're very straight-welcoming.
Yeah, exactly. We actually have members of the softball team that are boxing with me. They're my first students, because I would go to the games and talk about boxing and how much I enjoyed it. So when I decided to teach, my first 3 students were softball players. So it's bridged together. I think sports is just something that everybody enjoys doing, watching, and now the boxing and the softball have met in the middle, and I'm hoping to get more softball players to come box.
Do you ever find that exhausting, like a full day at the gym working out with other people and stuff, and then going to play a softball game?
Well, I hold a job. I still work in broadcast, so Swarm and boxing are something I do in my leisure time. Travis can speak more to teaching all day, because he's the one that's there every day, all day teaching.
Oh, okay.
On a long day, I might teach 10, 11, 12 students per day, and we only do one-on-one private lessons at Oaklawn Boxing. We don't do big groups or large classes. So by working one-on-one with our students, we can address any specific needs or challenges or goals that they might have that they want to work on. I found the best way to get through these very long days is to take it one lesson at a time. And if I look at my schedule and I think, oh my gosh, I have 12 lessons to teach today, how am I ever going to get through that? I probably won't. But if I take it one student at a time, oh, Sally, good to see you, here we go. And then Sally's lesson is done, and then Jane walks in, and we take her. If I take it one lesson at a time, and then pretty soon the day's done, and I can go home. And I think that also keeps me focused one-on-one on the unique needs that each student has, as opposed to just thinking of each of them as some kind of conglomerate group.
Yeah, some of the women come in, and I've noticed just starting to teach, some of them want to learn boxing as a sport, some of them want cardio, some of them want self-defense, some of them come in and are not quite sure where they want to go, but they want to start out with the physical aspect, the exercise. And I think some people stick on that path, and then some people develop, because when I first started, I didn't want to spar, I didn't want to fight. But then I would think, what, about 6 months in? I decided, I decided I wanted to hit Travis back.
And she's decided she likes that quite a bit, actually. So we do several rounds of sparring every time that Jennifer does a lesson. And we do encourage all of our trainers on staff to continue training so that they continue to polish not only their boxing skills, but their teaching skills as well.
So who do you practice with? Since you're like a trainer, do you practice with another trainer?
I, like all of the other trainers, I encourage myself to get in the ring and train from time to time with the other trainers on staff, yes.
So you spend a lot of time at the gym then.
I am at the gym a lot these days, yes. I basically am at the boxing gym and I sleep.
So basically, all my listeners out there, don't mess with Travis or Jennifer. They could probably beat you up.
Yeah, don't let Travis fool you. He teaches boxing all the time. And when I first started there, I was like, I don't know how he does this. And then on top of that, he rides his bike to and from work every day. So I hope that I stay in his great shape.
Wow. That's a lot of physical activity.
Yes, very much so.
Jennifer, can you tell me more? Tell us more about the volunteer aspect. What kind of organizations have you all worked with? I noticed Habitat for Humanity was on the website.
Well, right now, just Habitat. We've been working with them for the past year, just trying to raise money to do an on-site build. We're hoping to do that later this year.
What does that mean, an on-site build?
Basically, when they go to build a house, we show up for a day, and we've sponsored all of the products needed that day, and we give our time, and we just get as far along into the build as we can for the day. We're hoping in the future to actually build a safe house with them, and basically what that is you raise a certain amount of money to go in and build the whole house over a certain amount of time, and then your organization's name is on that house. But for now, we're just trying to do the one site day build. It is a lot of money to raise. We are a new organization, but we hope to continue that relationship with them and build as much as we can. We've done some pet transfer for Paws in the City. Basically, they've contacted our members who have signed up for their mailing list, and if they can make it, they go to help transport the adopted pets. Other than that, myself and a few other people have just gone to nursing homes and given our time to the elderly, hanging out with them, playing card games. We're looking at other organizations, so if there's any out there that need volunteers, please contact us, because we do want to broaden the group that we work with.
Jennifer, given the age range of the women in your organization, do you find that some of the more mature members do perhaps some type of mentoring or guidance with the younger members, or serve as role models for them, or something like that?
Well, both of you keeping me on my toes today.
I know, it's great. I have a co-host today. It's great.
I know, he's great. I definitely see that, and I see that in all aspects. On the softball team, I can start there, because some of the older members mentor the younger members as far as skill and just in life. Like, we've been just hanging out, and I've heard some of the older members of the softball team talking to the younger women about life and dating and family and coming out. And when we've been at Swarm events, we've had a few social events. It's the same thing. I think that dynamic and age is very necessary to the organization, because the whole point of starting this was to mentor other women.
I think that's great. When I grew up in the 1960s, I had very few role models in terms of sexual orientation. And I think today, organizations like this that do provide an opportunity for role models for lesbian and trans women, I think it gives them a lot more role models to make reference to than people had perhaps a generation ago.
True.
Right, and I really love that aspect of women working with women, as well as trans women and like lesbian and trans, and because there aren't many outlets outside the neighborhood for people to really bond together. And I really love the aspect of not only just us hanging out together, playing a sport, but also going out to the community and helping out, giving back. That's really amazing.
It is, and I'm hoping that over the next few years we can grow even larger and discover more about our capabilities, and hopefully get out there to more nonprofits. We do want to help other gay and lesbian nonprofits in the community, but a lot of the nonprofit organizations in our community are very fortunate that they're very well established and they have a great support system. So we want to get out there to some of the smaller startups like us and help them. And like I said, really promote a positive image of lesbian and trans women to straight women and other organizations in the community. We've talked about, the possibility of visiting women in prison, helping women, at other organizations where they help abused women or things of that nature. So we're hoping to really expand just past our own selves and into the community of women as a whole.
I think it's also really important to have organizations like this to give our community identity. Those of us who have lived in the Oak Lawn neighborhood for many years have seen the transition of the neighborhood in the last 10 to 15 years with all of the skyscraper developers coming in and all of the non-community members coming in. The neighborhood has gotten progressively more straight just in terms of statistics. And I think it's very easy at this point for us to kind of lose touch with who and what we are as a community. And I think organizations like Jennifer's really give us an opportunity to reestablish our entity, our identity as a community.
Travis, as a gay male, do you know of any organizations similar to Jennifer's but for gay and trans men?
I wish there were such a thing. I would join it.
You can start a separate branch for guys. We'll work on that.
We'll work on that, yes.
I think there are, from what I know from being with Youth First, I know that, gear is really prominent, I'm assuming still in the transgender community. I know there are some great programs at the Resource Center. The guys have a softball league, the PSSA, that they play in. They play out in Dallas, and I've met some of them, and there's some great teams and some pretty close-knit guys as well. But as far as Swarm, I'm not sure. I hope so. A lot of people sometimes look at nonprofit and go, oh, well, here's another competitor. And that, to me, is just disheartening when anyone thinks more nonprofits create more competition. It's like if we could have more nonprofits, that would just be fantastic. So I hope there are, but other than that, I don't know of any.
I think as a community, it's important that we not be in competition with each other.
Right.
And it's very easy for the different aspects, different elements of our community to kind of splinter off and perhaps kind of be at odds with each other, and all that does is hurt us as a community. And so I think any way that an organization such as Swarm can bring together perhaps disparate, unconnected parts of our community together and unify them into something bigger and better than an individual, I think that just serves our community well in the long run.
Right. That's a great point. Have you all reached out to the Resource Center of Dallas by any chance?
We have not yet. We're just trying to establish ourselves and get members on board before we really start making different connections. Right now, we're trying to establish a board where members actually have specific tasks so we can work more on marketing and promotion and getting more volunteers on board. And I think once we're more established there and we've made more organizational connections, then we might start trying to reach out to other centers. We're still new. We're still figuring out what works and doesn't work and trying to get our name out there. But hopefully, eventually, yes, we will.
Okay. Also, Youth First, if you have any members of that are 25 or older, they always can need some more volunteers, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you're aware because
Yeah.
I realized Aunt Melanie was one of the
Mel
founders.
and I was with Youth First Texas for, I think, 4 or 5 years when I first started, and there are some members of my softball team and organization who were youth when I started. I met Mel, trained Mel when she came on as a volunteer, and that's where we connected.
So you trained Aunt Melanie at Youth First?
Yes, yeah. She contacted me via email, and she came to the center. We met, and we've been great friends ever since.
That's great. I'm learning so much about her today.
I could tell you more. So we're hoping, to really get with those women that are 25 or older who are coming out of youth organizations, because I think Dallas is really great with Youth First Texas and Jewel and some of the other organizations for the younger women.
What is Jewel, by the way?
My friend Jennifer Owens works with Jewel, and it's a group of women at the Resource Center, and I don't think they have an age limit, but they too do reading clubs and other things like that for women. You might be able to find more information.
Right, at the Resource Center Dallas website.
I didn't know they existed till Jennifer joined the team.
I've heard of them. I haven't had a guest on from there yet.
Well, we'll contact Jennifer for you.
Oh, okay, that's wonderful. Jennifer contacting another Jennifer to get to a Joy. Okay.
Yeah. There we go.
There's 3 J's in that. Oh, that's wonderful. Travis, are there any organizations outside of Oak Lawn Boxing that you're a part of, by any chance?
Not specifically, and that's largely not for lack of desire, but basically for lack of time. Our busy time at the gym is usually from 4 p.m. until 10 p.m. in the evenings, because that's when most of our students are off work and want to come and train and work out. And unfortunately, that's generally the same time that most other organizations hold meetings, is in the evening. And so the scheduling is very problematic for me to be an active part of many of the other community organizations.
Okay.
But I think with Oaklawn Boxing, though, I think Travis is kind of serving his own purpose in the community, because I've lived in many different cities and never did I find a boxing gym that was, you know, gay and lesbian oriented in the owners and a lot of the members. So I think he's served his own purpose in the community.
Right, of course,
Yeah.
of course. I'm really grateful you're working at Oaklawn Boxing. I wasn't trying to infer anything.
No,
I understand.
No, I don't think he gives himself enough credit sometimes in that respect.
Right, right.
I think I'm constantly amazed and impressed at the women and men who train at our gym, and the intelligence and the courage and the strength that they bring to their workout experience there. And I reminded them of this all the time, because we frequently hear that we do good training at the gym, we're good teachers, and that's always nice to hear, but I think that it's a two-way street. I think that it is half the trainer's part, but it also takes an enthusiastic, energetic student to make a success. And so I like to think that together, the trainers and the students get them to where they're meeting the goals that the students bring in the door with them. And again, it goes back to the empowerment thing.
All right. What is the most challenging thing you've run into as a trainer?
We have a student who is deaf, gay male here in Dallas, and he was interested in learning boxing. And anyone who knows me personally knows that I tend to be somewhat verbal. I tend to be rather chatty just in how I...
Right, you're my co-host today, right?
That's right, how I process life. And it was very challenging at first working with this gentleman, because I could not use my typical methods of explaining techniques to him. And several people suggested, well, Travis, you just need to learn some basic ASL sign language signs. Well, that doesn't really work when you're wearing boxing gloves. So that approach really didn't work. So he and I, we stumbled through a few lessons at the beginning. We've kind of have found a monkey see, monkey do type of approach that seems to work for us. But what is really interesting to me about this deaf gay male is that he's become a great friend to quite a few of the other students at the gym, both gay and straight. And I think in many of the minds of our students, he kind of ties together the very active gay deaf community here in Dallas, which I frankly was not very familiar with until I met him. And he ties that together with the gay sports community here in Dallas. And I think to meet students like that, while it can be challenging to work with them in their particular situation, it's really gratifying to see them pull together, again, some of these maybe not so well-connected elements of our community. And I think that just makes us stronger as a community in the long run.
He's quite impressive to watch boxing. I'm very fortunate to have my lessons Monday after this student. And when I first saw them, I'm like, you know, I've experienced Travis. We sometimes tend to get lost in conversation in our boxing lessons. And so when I was watching him, I was like, well, he's not saying anything. Is he in a bad mood today? And I saw this hand movement and all this, you know, visual and physical communication. And I asked Travis, and he's like, he's deaf. And so I've watched other lessons, and it's just very impressive, because I think, you know, typical of someone who has, you know, deaf or blind, their other senses are heightened. And with him, his visual is very impressive. So I think that a lot of people underestimate their ability to be boxers.
I have to say also, it is also very gratifying to work with our women students at the gym, including our lesbian and trans students. I perceive women in some respects being smarter than men, and a lot of
Right.
a lot of my male friends disagree with me on that. But there's something about how women process things. They tend to pick up skills faster. They tend to give 110% all the time, which is not, those are not things we can across the board say of the men in our society. And I really enjoy working with the women students at our gym. They have an energy and enthusiasm that is very infectious, and I think kind of carries over to a lot of the men who train at our gym as well.
We need more female students. Right now, I'm just sparring the boys, so I need some girls to join.
Right. So women watching Oaklawn Boxing needs more women.
Exactly. We need more female boxers. We have some, but they don't want to spar, so we need some who are interested in sparring to get in the ring.
Right.
Sparring is not a requirement at our gym.
It's not, but it's a lot of fun. We do wear head cages. We are protected. We control our power, so you're not going in there to get clobbered or clobbered somebody else. That's not why I do it. For me, it's a sport. I don't want to physically injure another person. I just like the sport of it. So I think if some women look at it from that aspect, it's a great sport and it's a lot of fun, and I wish more would do it.
Although I can't help but point out that when Jennifer sneaks a punch in on me during one of our sparring rounds, I see the look of glee on her face.
It's there, but it is controlled glee.
Good point.
That's the first time I've heard the word glee in a gay context without in reference to the show.
No, boxing, when I first started, the physical demand I was concerned with, and I didn't realize what I was going to get out of it. And it's more than just a workout. I've gotten a better sense of clarity, a better sense of focus. My tone physically is better. So I've gained so much more from it. So I know a lot of women start something and they're like, I want to lose weight. So I want them to know that if they do choose to take boxing, there's so much more to get out of it. Like I said, I've gotten a greater sense of clarity, focus. I feel like my mental awareness is sharper because you really do have to pay attention and you have to think. It's not just getting in there and throwing random punches. There is a lot of skill, a lot of technique, and I think it's just made me all around a better employee, better with energy. And so I highly encourage women to look at it from the aspect. It's not just working out and losing weight. You really gain so much more from it. And for me, not that I ever want to be in a situation where I have to use self-defense, but I feel secure in my technique to where if I had to be put in that situation, I could take care of myself. I like to think so.
It is unfortunately not always a real nice world out there on the street these days, and we always keep one eye at the gym toward self-defense situations and a context in which the skills and techniques that they learn could be used on the street should they unfortunately be forced into that situation. We hope that never happens, but better safe than sorry, and always to be prepared.
That's good. What are some of the price ranges for a membership at Oaklawn Boxing?
We actually teach by the lesson. The first sample lesson is free. There's no charge for the first lesson. That gives you a chance to come, try out the facility, try out our teaching approach, whether it's working with Jennifer as our female trainer or one of our male trainers. If you like our approach and you feel like we can help you with the goals that you're looking for, it basically works out to $33 every time that you do a private 45-minute lesson. There's no long-term contract to sign. It basically is pay as you go, and you can come and you would be welcome to join us for as many days, weeks, months, or years as you feel like you're getting benefit out of it. And a lot of our people start out initially short-term, and they find that it's actually improving the quality of their life, and they've been with us for multiple years now. We have a very dedicated clientele at the gym, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, one of the things I liked when I joined was that it is pay as you go. You're not coming into a contract, but also Travis, you only pay for the time that you're training. So if you want to go and practice or work out, there's no extra hidden charges like with some gyms for that. So it's really nice to feel like it's your gym too.
Okay, that's great. And I want to read some of the stuff I found at the website. Can I do that?
Off of which one?
The Women of Swarm.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm on the Lady Buzz section right here, and it is the woman that I am. I found this article.
You're gonna read what I wrote.
Yeah, I found this article really interesting. I'm not gonna actually read the whole thing. I'm maybe quote a few things here and there. I find it really interesting that you tell your story in a way on the website as well, and I think that is great for even women that can't join in because of either time or too far away. And I'm not going to read that, but basically you can read it on her website at womenofswarm.com. And yes, I think that is just about all the time we have today, unless if y'all want to end on anything.
We just encourage anyone out there looking for boxing lessons to find us online at oaklawnboxing.com. Come in for the free lesson. I think if you take that free lesson, you'll see that you're getting a lot more out of this than you expected.
We're the friendliest gym in town. We welcome anyone and everyone.
That's great. And I think we're about done for today. Thank you, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Takes me